We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
Smelling salt's cracked. Back in studio. We still don't understand how to fucking do these things back here. If you're watching on YouTube, it's a disaster every single time. But we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, we'll just keep blaming COVID.
COVID keeps us from doing things correctly here in the studio in Cincinnati. You have a disaster of your own to talk about yesterday.
A little bit of a disaster. Now, as you know, I played I'm a basketball fan. That was probably my sport that I liked playing the most growing up. Humble brag, but I was my high school leading scorer in basketball. Shout out to Coach Beasley if you're listening. But yeah, so I was in rec league yesterday with some guys, and we are down 1, 5 seconds left. Full court. We got to go full court. I drop a great play to obviously get me the ball. I had a layup. I get fouled on the layup. Get me a layup. Fouled on the layup. So 2 free throws. Down 1. No time left to win. I missed both.
No, you didn't.
I missed both free throws.
Dude, you suck. I thought it was a cool story. That's awful.
I knew you were gonna love it because you love hating on me, but
I don't love hating on you.
You would have.
I think it's funny when things happen poorly for you because you are a guy that's kind of, you usually hit.
I have lacked the clutch gene though in the past. My freshman year, I missed a shot to win the regional championships at the buzzer.
This is some PTSD shit right here.
So
didn't you also stub your toe or something?
Oh, and my toe was fucked up after yesterday.
Was it before or after the free throw?
It was during the game. I could feel it
Blame it on
start to bleed. Toe. It was really, but it was not the toe. It was me choking.
Back him twice. I wanted to turn back the clocks a little bit. Some people, want me to go back to some of the parenting stories. And I've talked a lot about my mom, talked a lot about my dad, but we haven't brought the stepmom into the conversation, which is an interesting one. She follows some stereotypical stepmom kind of narratives in some ways to kind of which is not good.
That sounds like you're making
not those narratives, not the 2020 stepmom narratives where she's fucking caught in the laundry, the washer. It's more stereotypical like pre-2010, but to kind of set the scene, my dad and my real mom, the one who was the Grand Theft Auto master, were divorced when I was 3. And I originally lived with my mom because she was in a better situation than my dad was at the time. However, she then did a year in prison for the Grand Theft Auto. So then I got kicked over to my dad when I was about 7 and my sister was 9. However, at that time, my dad had already met my stepmom and they were having a kid. My dad's name is Vincent. They were having Vincent Jr. Yeah, the second son was named Vincent Jr., not me. Let's not get into that. Here we are. So he's with this new girl, my stepmom. We are coming over. My stepmom's 20 at the time. She's about to enter a very crazy period in your life of having a child. And then she gets dropped in having a 7 and a 9-year-old as well. It's like, oh, not only are you having a kid, but you now also have a 7 and 9-year-old kid from obviously my mom's side and all that stuff. So she gets thrown into the fire. And parenting is very difficult. It's not easy, especially if you don't ever raise children and then immediately get a 7 and 9-year-old and it's a whole nother ball game.
20.
Yeah. So let's just say this. Her disciplinary tactics were hard hitting. There's ones you want to avoid. They were not great. You don't like to see that. We're not going to get into that side of things. But you don't want to get disciplined by the stepmom because she's coming for the crown when something went wrong. Either way, I was still a kid and kind of a piece of shit in some ways. And I was a little bit of a fatty. I liked food a lot when I was a kid. And there was, it was like, I think we had people coming over for a holiday or something, maybe the next day or the day after. But those doughy ass holiday cookies? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
They have the frosting on top. If you're watching on YouTube, maybe Quinn could throw up a picture of the stereotypical holiday cookie where it's like, it barely even tastes like a cookie. Yeah, it tastes like chalk. But as a kid, they're like crack.
Yeah.
So, and the boxes those come in, like the plasticky boxes that you can't open silently. But I wake up early. I did a lot of my deviants early because that's when people are asleep. You can kind of sneak some things around. I go, I'm like, I think I'm like James Bond trying to open these things. Not only do I have to open it, but I have to like crack the seal. I'm like trying to like be really quiet, but I'm sure at 8, 9 years old or wherever it wasn't doing a good job of being quiet at like 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. in the morning. So I go in, I'm trying to open these things up. It's louder than I probably think. I get through one. As soon as I get it open, I grab 2. And then I hear, we had this hallway at the house where like if you walk through the hallway, it was very loud, like like it creaked and stuff. It was like fee fi fo fum coming from the back room. I'm freaking out. I just vacuum one, just borderline swallow it. I don't even think I chewed it. And then the other one I had in my hand, I quickly closed the plastic. And I kind of stuffed it into my shirt and like held it in the lip of my shirt and was just like standing there in the kitchen like this. She comes in, she's like, "Did you have a cookie?" She knew I had a cookie. I felt like, I was like, no. Like still like crumbs probably on my mouth. She's like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "No, man, I didn't have a cookie." The package is open. 2 are missing. They come like with 8 every single time. She doesn't check me though. I don't know how I avoided this. I don't know if she was in a stumble or whatever, because I was expecting an absolute beatdown. But she's like, "Okay, I still don't believe you, but okay." And I was like, "All right, I have to go to the bathroom." Go to the bathroom, just vacuum that other one, whatever it may be. But that was one of the more traumatic moments. Another morning story from stepmom is, in addition to doing this morning deviance, my grandpa, rest in peace, was telling me, "Hey, what do you want for Christmas?" My parents wouldn't get to me. I wanted Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. The game, where you could willfully like score drugs and beat up hookers on the street. I wanted that one. I would wake up at like 6 a.m. to play it so my parents didn't find out.
I was going to say, you could have just had a ride along with your mom.
Yeah. Then my mom actually plays the game a lot in real life. But I played that at 6 a.m. once, and then she like broke into my room one time, and that was an actual beatdown. That was no cover up. There's no cover up that cookie. But the tips and tricks I went through to kind of avoid some of these disciplinary actions were a good time as a kid. Speaking of good times, let's get into Maurice Jones-Drew's mock draft. This is going to be an absolute treat.
So it's not quite mock draft 2.0. Mock draft 1.0, even last year, he starts off tame, and then he, gets in his bag in mock draft 2.0. But this one a little tamer than, but there's still some takes that are worth exploring, shall we say.
Yeah.
We're not going to go through every pick.
Yeah, not go through every single pick. I think the most notable pick, and I had hundreds of people DMing me saying, "You guys have to look at the Maurice Jones-Drew mock draft. You have to review it." We're going to get into this. We're going to look at the Maurice Jones-Drew mock draft. I think the most notable pick inside the top 10, a lot of it's kind of chalky, like you say, kind of tame, is at 10. And I thought I was the biggest fan of Javon Holland.
I know.
The Oregon safety, Oakland's own, Bishop O'Dowd graduate. I played that school in high school. I was like, Javon Holland's a dude. People were sleeping on him. He has him going number 10.
Number 10.
To the Cowboys. That's the highest I've seen Javon Holland mocked this entire draft season. I don't think I've seen him ahead of like in the 50s.
Yeah.
Your original thoughts. Do you think there's any likelihood that even Javon Holland goes in the first round?
I mean, maybe. I'm never going to say never, but I don't think so. I don't think he does. In number 10, and the best part about this whole mock draft, in my opinion, or not the best part, but reading the explanations then for picks, he says Javon Holland, whether it's you can do it all, will be a major contributor, however he's used, as a center field safety, outside corner, or nickel, when just like...
And return man on special teams.
And return man on special teams, which he never played outside corner in his life. Like, that's just like a call being like... That would be a ridiculous play to just say, hey, let's get this guy who was a good safety, good slot, and just make him an outside corner. So that one, I was going to say that's probably a reach.
I stand with Mojo. Let's get Javon Holland, Oakland's own, in the top 10. I'm all for it. And I do think he's very versatile. But I don't think you can knock any NFL media mock draft for the analysis. They literally do 2 or 3 sentences max. They know what cooks. The SEO of mock draft is what gets these things clicks. People are not clicking in to read Mojo's analysis. They're clicking in to read Javon Holland at 10.
Do we think he opened up Microsoft Word at any point for this mock draft?
That I don't want to comment on. I don't want to.
I'm guessing he just like was talking with a guy about every pick, and some guy just gave.
Maybe he had a scribe, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't think that's unlikely. He also has Wyatt Davis going at 20 of the Chicago Bears, the Ohio State guard, ahead of Elijah Vera Tucker of USC, who goes the next pick to the Indianapolis Colts. Do you see in any way, shape, or form Wyatt Davis going ahead of AVT?
No, I mean, he's good, but I think he has injury issues that people are going to, like he had a knee that just kept popping up this past year, that a recurring knee issue is not something you draft early, especially at guard. But the other ones that we got touched on here, running backs.
Yeah,
3 running backs going in the first round. Surprise, surprise. The MJD special. The number 18 here, Miami Dolphins, Najee Harris. The write-up for this The Dolphins get arguably the best player in the draft at the spot value.
I didn't read that. Wait, I didn't know that he said that.
That's his explanation for the Dolphins getting Najee Harris.
Arguably the best player in the draft? I'm crying. Why did he go at 18, Mojo?
I know, yeah. Make a call, Mojo.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Take a page out of Charlie Casserly's book.
That's my favorite sentence I've read this year.
Yeah.
Wow. So he has Najee Harris going to Miami at 18. He also has the Jets taking Travis Etienne at 23.
But again, you got to read the.
Okay, Etienne. Let me read Etienne. This pairing makes too much sense. The best way to help a team get out of its funk is to get a running game and a mobile quarterback. Pairing Justin Fields, so we had Justin Fields going to the Jets at 2, with an explosive rusher who breaks tackles and can take it the distance, gets the Jets headed in the right direction.
Running game. That's how you get a team out of a funk.
You get the team. You know what they should do? Sign Le'Veon Bell. Oh, wait. Sorry, that didn't work out. Travis Etienne at 23, and then a few picks down, he does have Javonte Williams, my guy. Javonte Williams going at 30 to the Buffalo Bills. I know the Bills have other needs, says Mojo, but a player like Williams might have gotten them over the hump last January. Come on. Are we still playing this game that a running back gets you over the hump?
MJD is. I mean, his livelihood.
Do you think Leonard Fournette got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the hump? And if you do, delete your accounts, delete any public statements you make, because that's not what it was. You know who took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the hump? Tom Brady. And that passing offense. And defensively, you could argue Antoine Winfield Jr. and Sean Murphy-Bunting, their third corner, took them over the hump more than Leonard Fournette did. But explosive runner fits exactly what the Bills need in their run game.
Yeah, I mean, he is more explosive than what they got, but what they need in the run game is better run blocking.
Can I highlight a pick I really like?
Yeah.
I really like the Terrace Marshall Jr. pick to Baltimore. Like Terrace Marshall Jr. Baltimore. We've mocked him Rashod Bateman at times. We had the wide receiver position overview last podcast, and you're firmly putting him in that day one conversation. I think Terrace Marshall Jr. to Baltimore is actually a fit I really do like. And you know how you take a team like Baltimore over the hump is you get
Terrace Marshall
Jr. is I think what could do it. Man, I didn't read that arguably the best player in the draft. I love that.
Value-wise also. You gotta
I didn't see the value-wise. I just keep laughing. This is incredible. Well, Mojo, all respect, obviously. I mean, mock drafts are an exercise. Mock drafts.
Can't wait till 2.0.
Mock drafts are content. Can't wait for his 2.0. I think Javon Holland falls out of the first round in 2.0. Can we have a bet on that? I don't think he sees Holland in the first round in 2.0. There's no way he sticks to those guns.
You might have him going even higher.
Dude,
just talent like Javon Holland?
I freaking love it. All right, let's get now into the mailbag. Obviously talking stepmom stories, basketball. You're just a bad clutch player. Mojo mock draft.
No clutch gene. I'll admit it, no clutch gene.
Let's get into the listener mailbag here and then interviews with Brad Spielberger, PFF salary cap analyst, Rashod Bateman, receiver Minnesota, which is a really cool interview, and Tommy Togiai of Ohio State. Should be a good time. This first question on the listener mailbag, and if you want your question answered, go to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review, and drop your question in there. We did just find out this, though.
Yes.
That if you're from a different country, like Ireland, UK, Brazil, Australia, they have a different review process.
It doesn't come through. Yeah,
it doesn't come through
on iTunes.
But we just found out how we can read those. So we might do an international mailbag day because we have another 200 reviews from other countries.
Should we dress up for that?
We might have to dress up for that.
Culturally maybe inappropriate. No,
that sounds ridiculous, Mike. What the hell are you going to wear? I could dress up as a leprechaun. I got the size.
Dude,
the mustache. I could be a Mario. Either way, we're going to do an international mailbag.
You had to be under 5'9", I want to say, to be the actual leprechaun in Notre Dame. And then you had to grow a beard. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They had height requirements. I could not have been a leprechaun if I wanted to.
I could have probably slipped in.
You probably could.
The other thing I'll say is if that you feel like you got skipped somehow, say you were an international review or you feel like we accidentally skipped you, shoot me a DM on Twitter. I'll try and find it and we'll try and fit it back in. We don't want to skip anybody. If anything, it's unintentional. We've got a ton of reviews over the past 20, 30 days. So anything is unintentional here. We're grinding away, double mailbags a week, trying to make sure we get through these. Let's go ahead and start. Nickname 4029. I'm still trying to understand the concepts of salary cap and franchise tags. What are the benefits of tagging and tagging and trading and playing under the cap, etc.?
Well, we got good news for you. Listen to the Brad Spielberger interview at the end of the show. Hey,
Brad Spielberger went in.
Yeah,
that interview at the back end of this podcast is fantastic. He really does explain and simplify the free agency process. A lot of the salary cap process. So definitely tune into that. Nickname 4029. Jarius Norwood. Quick question about salary cap. Okay, I've always wondered why salary cap leagues don't account for state taxes. For instance, people kept mentioning how Raiders players would get more money once they left Cali for Vegas. Isn't this an obvious unequal playing field between teams? Why not adjust caps by location?
I will say rookies get screwed by this the most. That's who I feel badly for. Mm-hmm. So if, Trevor Lawrence, I was about to say Trevor Millions. He saved $4 million by the Jaguars getting the number 1 pick and not the Jets. Now you can debate whether he'd make that back in advertising or being in New York or whatever. But it's $4 million tax-wise over the course of his rookie contract from that difference, which is not chump change. That is when you sign a big money deal.
$4 million will never be chump change to me.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's when you sign a big money deal. That is a massive chunk. Like that's 10% state income tax in New York versus none in Florida. So it is something. I think that's on your piece of shit state that's charging all that money, though. That's not on
the NFL. It's not the NFL's
problem. That's not the NFL's problem, basically.
Fair enough. All right, moving on from the cap questions here. Make sure you tune into that interview with Brad Spielberger. This is from Obungaloo. I like the names. If you get an interesting name in the reviews, it makes me happy and it really helps me through this process. I will try and read these correctly. Multiple people DM'd me after last time where I was just botching some of the reading of those questions. I had like a seizure on the freaking podcast. But we're going to move through here. Hope for no errors. This is from Obungaloo. If you were to combine the top 3 to 5 wide receivers from last year's class and add them to your top 3 to 5 wide receivers in this class, what would the rankings be?
Yes. So without the advent of revisionist history here, you're just combining how I felt at the time, draft-wise, how I felt at the time, draft-wise now. So number 1, Jamar Chase, LSU. Number 2, Jerry Jeudy. 3, CeeDee Lamb. 4, Jalen Waddle. 5, Devontae Smith. 6, Henry Ruggs. 7, Rashod Bateman. And 8, Laviska Shenault. That's how I'd combine those into a top 8. There you go.
Very quick and easy. I'm trying to think of anything I would disagree with here.
Yeah. The Jeudy Lamb.
I think that, if anything, it shows the love for Laviska Shenault Jr. You really like Laviska Shenault coming out. I think because I definitely agree with, and I think something to consider, and I think revisionist history would probably put Bateman over Ruggs after what we saw in Las Vegas last year. But right now, I think Ruggs over Bateman. I'm on for this. I like that ranking. All right. From MMART6767. My question is, if top 10 teams like the Falcons and Lions are targeting quarterbacks, but already have their 2021 starter in place, who would be a better project for a 2022 starter, Justin Fields or Trey Lance, who has a higher ceiling and who will translate to the NFL quicker?
I mean, we have Fields higher on our board because we think he'll be better. That's why he's higher on our board. So I do think that he's, no matter what the situation, would do better off in terms of between those two going to equal situations. I don't honestly like either to come in the NFL and start lighting it up right away. I don't think that's going to happen with either. One, Trey Lance, because he legitimately needs work in terms of his accuracy. 2, Justin Fields, because he's going from a situation at Ohio State where easier than anything he's going to see in the NFL. So I think both could stand to go to teams, or would be better off going to teams like the Falcons, like the Lions, like the Panthers, maybe even, where they could sit year 1.
Next question from Nicholas C_3. In an alternate universe, I like where this is starting, where Roger Goodell announces that the draft will include both incoming rookies and free agents, and the free agents had to be signed with rookie contracts, what would the first round look like? Also, in our universe, I've seen very few, if any, people talk about Dak to the football team. I think they can get Godwin too if it's a great fit. Is it possible?
No. Sorry. A little late on that one, but I do like the concept. And so we're going to go through this with all the guys who got tagged or just signed also included. So, number 1, you got Trevor Lawrence still goes to the Jags. I still think that's where you'd go. If you were the Jags, you're
not drafting Dak Prescott.
Swinging for the fences. No, you're swinging for the fences on what Trevor could be, because that's why he's seen the way he's seen. 2, Dak Prescott then I think does go to the Jets. I think the assuredness of what he is.
That would be a very good decision.
Yeah. And then number 3, I think you got the Panthers trading up. Go get Zach Wilson, although maybe you don't necessarily need to trade up in this scenario because of the quarterback talent that you're adding with, a Dak Prescott being a free agent. But I just think Zach Wilson to the Panthers. Then I think Justin Fields goes to the Falcons. Say then the Bengals, I think they draft Trent Williams. I think that's who they get. And now, yes, he is a little older, but you need to protect Joe Burrow. And I think the way tackles have aged in recent years, you got about 4 or 5 more years left of him, which is all you're assured on a rookie contract anyways. Then you get number 6, Eagles, Allen Robinson.
Ooh.
The safety of, we love Jamar Chase as a prospect. Allen Robinson is a known quantity and still young, 27. Penny Sewell then goes to the Lions. I think even though maybe they don't necessarily need offensive tackle, I think in their rebuild sort of
good value pick
state, that's where you'd go. Chris Godwin then to the Dolphins after the Dolphins trade back. Another young wide receiver that the assuredness of him you feel better about than maybe the Jamar Chase of the world. Broncos, I think they stand pat and they'd get Trey Lance then at that point, and then Mac Jones to the Cowboys because the Cowboys need a quarterback.
That is a very interesting exercise.
They wouldn't have Dak at that point.
They wouldn't have Dak. Man, I do think in that alternate universe, that was probably how it lines up. It's interesting because Dak Prescott's like the only quarterback from the 2021 free agent class that would get drafted inside the top 10. Like you don't see, like it's not going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick or Jameis Winston, even though they have played well in the NFL at times. Like you're not going to draft those guys ahead of some of the other prospects in this class. That's very interesting. I like that alternate universe. I like that question.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. This one's from Raunchy Prawns, excuse me. Raunchy Prawns says that do we overvalue speed at the wide receiver position? We talk about how much value deep threats bring to an offense, even over the production they provide. But are you better off signing a Nelson Aguilar or a Marquez Valdez-Scantling in free agency to fill that void, rather than spending high draft capital on someone like Henry Ruggs, for example?
Yes, to a degree. I think speed is 100% overvalued. I think you just look at the top guys in the NFL, year on year, consistently productive guys. There's kind of a type that wins, and this is why we love Rashod Bateman. It is 6'2", 6'3", 205, 215 pounds. That's maybe 6'1", like a solidly built wide receiver who has suddenness to him, can win in a number of different ways. Those are the guys that go for 1,400 plus yards year on year. A lot of them. There's a lot of guys in that mold. DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, Allen Robinson, Michael Thomas. That's the top group of wide receivers is filled with guys like that, and they're not 4.4 guys. None of those guys broke 4.5 in the 40. It is not a complete necessity to produce at the NFL level. And just because you run a 4.3 doesn't mean you're going to produce deep either. You got to have something else. You have to be able to set guys up to win deep. And so if you just want speed in your offense, if you just want a guy who will run over routes, you can go find that. Over routes, deep crossers, shallow crossers even, you can go find that every day of the week in free agency. So I do agree that
John Brown just got cut.
Yeah. That guys like that you can go find. But you chase that because the payoff can be so big when you get a Deshaun Jackson in your offense, when you get a Tyreek Hill in your offense, when you get that guy who is game-changing, Will Fuller in your offense, that can actually has to be accounted for every single play because you're not going to guard him with the Jalen Mills. If you have Jalen Mills on the outside, that's just, you're not going to play man coverage against that guy. So
I would argue, though, that speed is overvalued, and I think change of direction and suddenness and quick twitch is undervalued and more important when you're looking for like dominant receiving prospects.
And I do think if you are going to be that guy at the NFL level, a lot of times like you do at college too. You should be showing that deep threat ability, the deep ability. Whereas so Jalen Waddle's done that. That's what Henry Ruggs didn't do, and that was a worrisome thing with him is he didn't show that. He was not an explosive downfield receiver in Alabama's offense. A lot of his biggest plays were underneath stuff that he then ran after the catch. And I also will add that Marquez Valdez-Scantling's under contract in that question, so you can't just go sign him. But.
Yeah, fair enough. I will say with Jalen Waddle, I was doing some looking at some of the data today. Something I think that gets underrated a bit is his yards after the catch ability. He has the highest yards after the catch per reception of any receiver with at least 100 receptions over the past 6 years of any receiver career. Also, yards per reception and average depth of reception have a correlation of 0.8, very likely. The further you catch the ball downfield is the further your receptions go. Yeah. He doubled what his average depth of reception was like 9 yards. His yards per reception was 18. He is getting more out of downfield targets. He's getting more out of his targets because of that yak ability. I think Jalen Waddle, again, deep threat, speed, love it. But when he gets the ball in his hands, he makes the best of every situation.
That was reminiscent of CeeDee Lamb's profile too.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb's the same way. A lot of yak on his game, and in addition to being able to win downfield and those things. All right, this is from King Duke 41. What do you guys think about the Chargers picking up an offensive line in free agency and drafting Caleb Farley or Patrick Surtain with the 13th overall pick, or trading up to get them? I think that's interesting because so many people right now are pretty much chalking it up that they're going to take Rashawn Slater at 13. I think that's the most common player mocked to the Los Angeles Chargers, the Northwestern offensive lineman. What are your thoughts there?
They have to go offensive line free agency, even if they want Rashawn Slater too. I'm not just going to say, oh, go line free agency and then for sure draft one of these cornerbacks or go trade up for one of these cornerbacks. I wouldn't go do that for sure. But they're shopping Trey Turner. You have Trey Pipkins, Brian Bulaga as your only returning starters then. You got no interior offensive line. One Rashawn Slater is not going to fix what's wrong with that Chargers offensive line that we ranked the worst in football last year. So do both is what I would recommend. Throw a lot of resources at it. And there's not a great year to need tackles in free agency, good year seemingly to need guard centers. So,
all right. Moving off of King Duke to Ace Boogie asterisk. What is the Kevin White story? You guys tease this so much. I'm listening every day to hear the story. This doesn't mean I'll stop listening, but I'm dying to hear it. I think he means the John Ross story. And I've had a handful of people DM me and say, hey, just tell me the DMs. And I've done it. I've said just like the brevity of it.
Oh.
I will say, it's gotten really hyped up.
It's a little overhyped.
It's a little overhyped at this point. It's crazy. It's a little bit wild. When the chick first told us we were at a bar or something like a year ago, it was kind of insane. Like I was like, oh my God, that kind of makes sense. But we still can't say it. If he doesn't get signed in free agency, maybe we drop the hammer. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, if he doesn't get signed in free agency, we'll for sure. Or if he gets like a menial deal that is probably going to get cut,
all right,
we'll drop it.
I think that's a good. But
yeah, keep listening. Definitely
keep listening because it's coming. A Ravens fan. My question is: the Ravens are scheduled to lose all their edge players pretty much. Everyone is mocking wide receivers to them, which is fine, but they need an edge player badly. Haven't really had a presence there since Suggs. Judon is badly overrated. I believe in Unique. With a full offseason with the Ravens, I think he'd be fine. But the Ravens get torched by Mahomes because we have to send the blitz due to no edge. What are your guys' thoughts on them attacking edge with their first pick and targeting a receiver in free agency?
Next one's about the Ravens too.
Okay, next one from VNans. Hey guys, love the show. As a Ravens fan, I think we really need to add talent on the outside to see what Lamar can do before we pay him huge money. So this guy wants a receiver. I'm a huge Rashod Bateman fan after watching him and think he pairs with Hollywood well. Should the Ravens hope a wide receiver falls in the draft to 27 or pay decent draft capital or a tag and trade candidate like Galladay, then refill the offensive line through the later rounds? Either way, which wide receiver do you think fits them at 27? So one wants a receiver, one wants an edge player.
One wants edge.
I would lean edge. I think I would lean
Draft
edge
wise.
potentially. I would think for the draft.
Yeah.
I think right now with Kenny Galladay available, go get Kenny Galladay potentially. If you have the cap space to do it, and Kenny Galladay wants to play with Lamar Jackson, I think that's a nice because you don't even have to tag and trade in that situation. He didn't get tagged.
Yeah.
So go get Kenny Galladay, and with where this edge class is stacking up, I think there's going to be a valuable player along the edge at 27.
Yes. So the Ravens' MO has kind of been not to retain those edge guys. It's been rare. Like they let Pernell McPhee walk. They let Zadarius Smith walk. They have been also exceptional at developing edge talent outside of Sergio Kindle, who, what do you have, that motorcycle accident that I think it was, that he then never quite recovered from. They're good at identifying and developing edge talent. So I think that's where you go in the draft. Maybe not first round, but I think that's where they're going to address edge, and they could very well let Judon and Ngakoue both walk in free agency. And then at that point, with their space, I think they do go. I think they are players in this wide receiver class in free agency because, I mean, they've also done that too. They added Willie Snead a few years ago. So I think that will be the plan this offseason.
Dude, if they go and get Galladay and pick an edge in either the first or second round, I think that's the move. Because another thing you benefit from letting edge guys walk is you avoid monster contracts. Like I've said multiple times on this podcast now, 12 of the 15 highest paid non-quarterbacks rush the passer. You have to pay a lot of money to get a Matthew Judon, to get a Unique Ngakoue. Like these guys require top dollar contracts. And when you avoid those, when you let a Judon walk, when you let Zadarius Smith walk, well, maybe you do lose some of that production. I think you gain a lot of cap space back and can kind of fill that in the draft if they are so good at developing that piece.
And they have the guys that I would kind of say fit their mold, like Smith, McPhee, who's the other one that I'm blanking on right now, even Judon. Like they bigger, long power ends. They've been very good at developing. I think that could be Carlos Basham for them. I think that could be someone like Rashad Weaver.
I was going to say Weaver.
So that could be where you're looking if you are the Ravens, because they've had more success than any other team outside of round one in finding those guys.
Yeah, Rashad Weaver, round 2 to Baltimore sounds awesome.
Yeah,
you get a really smart player too. And in terms of like developing talent, regardless of position, getting guys that can come in that you can just pick up things very quickly like Weaver can. I think that's going to be, I like that as a mock. If you do a 2-round, 3-round mock coming up, let's get Weaver to Baltimore if we can. All right. What's the Shanna plan? That's that guy. That's this guy's username. Wanted to get your opinions on some hypotheticals for the 49ers. Under the assumption they re-sign Trent Williams, Jason Verrett, and Kyle Juszczyk out of their top free agents and all 4 quarterbacks, the top 3 receivers and Pitts are gone by pick 12. Oh my gosh, that was hard to read. So in the draft, all 4 quarterbacks, the top 3 receivers, and Pitts are gone by pick 12. How would they approach the draft? I don't want to read the rest of this novel here. How would they approach the draft?
Just read the rest of it. Read the rest of it.
I'd personally hope for Farley or Surtain, preferably Farley, to make it to 12 and then double up at corner in round 2 with someone like Togiai, Tyson Campbell, or Javon Holland. Do you guys think a trade down in the late teens, early 20s would make more sense? If so, what would the package be? What would be the package you hope for, and who would be the ideal pick for San Francisco between picks 17 and 24? This guy's going in deep.
Yeah.
I'd absolutely love to see what Shanahan could do with someone like Rondale Moore in that range, but he may be a bit of a luxury for us. Keep up the great work, guys. Hope to make it to Cincy and maybe run into you guys at a bar sometime.
See, this guy not live in Cincy is just going to come to Cincy to hope to see us at a bar.
I mean, when you put that effort into the question, I don't doubt it. This guy went in. Okay, there's a lot to break down there.
If you come to Cincy and you go to a bar, there's a good chance you'll see him.
I'm going to break that down and kind of summarize it.
Okay.
Just because I feel like that was a lot.
Yeah.
Assuming they re-sign Trent Williams, Jason Verrett, and Kyle Juszczyk, the top 4 quarterbacks, top 3 receivers, and Pitts are gone by pick 12. Should they take the corner there, or should they trade down and maybe pursue a guy like Rondale Moore, like you said, even though it would be a luxury? If they trade down, who would they get in the 17 to 24 range?
I think you'd still get a good corner if you trade down. Now, it takes 2 to tango on trades. We always say that. It's not always an option. I do like either Farley or Surtain at 12, the value of that, and the fit in their defense for sure. I think that's where I would go. I like the idea of pumping picks into that secondary. I would also like to still address the interior of the offensive line, even if you do re-sign Trent Williams. But I think that one can wait a little bit longer. Like if Slater's on the board there and Farley's on the board there for them, I think I'd lean Farley for them for sure.
All righty. That San Francisco, if that guy makes it out to Cincy.
Slater's a really good fit for them.
If that guy makes it out to Cincy, we'll have a couple drinks post-vaccine. All right, this is from Booby. How would you grade this as a Patriots offseason, and how realistic is it for the draft prospects to be got with the Patriots picks? Oh, so this guy gave us his plan, and we're going to grade it. I kind of like this as a review question. If you're a fan of a team and you want to give us like, hey, this is how I'd fix the Raiders or how I'd fix the Packers, what do you guys think? I kind of like that as a question. Here we go. You got John Johnson at safety. Love that. Dalvin Tomlinson, Henry Anderson, Jonnu Smith, and Curtis Samuel in free agency. He didn't break the bank for any of these guys. I think the biggest money contract compared to position would probably be John Johnson. Yeah. Then for the draft, he got Zaven Collins at Tulsa, linebacker, Brevin Jordan, tight end out of Miami, Carlos Basham Jr., edge, getting Collins and Basham. Love to see that. And then Amari Rodgers of Clemson, the slot receiver. How would you grade that offseason for the Patriots?
Just a little redundant, I'll say. You got Brevin Jordan and Jonnu Smith are the same guy. And you also drafted 2 tight ends in the 3rd round last year. I would almost want to flip this draft on its head in terms of the value. You're going linebacker and tight end 1-2. Now, Zaven Collins, great fit for them. Ideally, you'd trade down to get a Zaven Collins because he's not going to fit everybody, and so he may not go super early. But also, the teams that would covet a guy like that, you're not going to find another one in the draft. So, obviously, Belichick's MO has been trading down, but I would like to address the valuable positions early. Because we keep talking about the Patriots. The reason why we don't think this is their window is because you don't have enough young talent. You don't have enough cheap talent to actually compete and win a championship quite yet. So that's where I would focus on, is valuable positions that can help you be building blocks for the long term. But I do like the fit of Basham. I do like that free agency class because, again, these guys aren't super high level, super expensive. I wouldn't think any of them. All are kind of would fall into that secondary.
I think John Johnson's going to make the most money of that group.
Yeah, maybe Dalvin Tomlinson. Because Gettleman's over there resetting the DT market, just throwing it through the roof.
Dalvin Tomlinson was actually one of my first prospect interviews. Guy's wrestling background's nuts. That guy was like an all-star wrestler in high school, I think.
I liked him a lot as a prospect. He's turned out well.
Also super smart. I think he was like once committed or considering Harvard. I'm pretty sure he's a pretty brilliant kid as well.
Damn. But yeah, so I would just say free agency's cool, but then you kind of got redundant with Samuel and Rodgers, similar players. That
final grade on a scale of 1 to 5.
Final grade 1 to 5. We'll do -2.0 to 2.0, the
Classic.
PFF scale. We'll go plus 0.5.
Yeah, I was thinking plus 0.5. That's solid. All right, let's go now to...
You went above expectations. There you
I
go.
like that. Cash McAllister, one of my favorite names so far, outside of Jenny Toolwarts. I was wondering how you would approach the Dolphins' offensive line this offseason. Last year, they drafted 3 rookies and signed a veteran. These rookies played without an offseason, so it seems like the Dolphins are going to be relying on development this year. Very true. Would you leave the line as it is and hope for development, sign a free agent, or look to add in the draft?
I would add at least one vet free agent, even if it's just like a Ricky Wagner. Someone who can come in.
Zeitler.
And give you a floor. Yes, Zeitler. Norwell, if he's available. Someone that can come in and give you a floor that you're not bottoming out. And because they were still bad last year. They were still not a good situation. And yeah, rookies, you can expect them to be better than the rookie year, but they got to be a lot better to get you into a position where you have an offense that can compete. Like you're just, when you have a bottom 5 offensive line, you're just going to struggle to compete. You're going to struggle to put up numbers consistently week in and week out with the better offenses in the NFL. So that's how I feel about that.
Jumping now to Cleveland Clownies. How would you recommend to attack a draft for a team like the Browns? A good offense and a poor defense. Would you ignore an elite wide receiver in favor of defensive players?
No, I don't think so. I think wide receiver would still go a long way in this offense.
Especially if they do move on from OBJ.
Especially if they do. And honestly, they probably should. Like,
Yeah.
it was not
What do you
working
think
out.
you could get for OBJ on the market right now?
That's a good question. His contract is fairly favorable for wherever he's going to go to. It's like around $15 million a year the next couple of years, and no dead money. If it doesn't work out, you just dump him. If you're the team that gets him, not a first, maybe probably a second.
What's a landing spot? Who should go get him? For a second? There's got to be a team to go get him.
That's a good question. Maybe the Jaguars.
Packers?
Would be fun. Jaguars would be fun with first.
What about
second.
Packers?
I mean, obviously, I want the Packers.
Dude, but Packers, man, don't spend that first round pick on a receiver. Go trade a second for OBJ.
Could be fun.
That could be kind of sick.
Could be fun. I would do it.
Right,
I didn't want to say it. You said it, but I didn't want to say it.
That would
yeah.
be sweet. All right.
But so I think wide receiver can still be on the board for them. That's the only position I would think about going offensively, though.
All right.
After that, defense, valuable positions. Honestly, edge is where I'd bet they go with this class.
Yeah, a lot of people have them mocked, like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, if Micah Parsons falls. I've seen a Zayvon Collins there.
Even though it's a low-key, awesome free agency edge class to find talent, I think.
Really?
Yes. I mean, you got guys who could be impact players. You got who won't come that expensive. You got like Jadeveon Clowney, Yannick Ngakoue, Matthew Judon. I mean, even Romeo Okwara played well last year and is only 25 years old still. What could that guy be? Is that the sign of something to come? So I think there's a lot of guys who have kind of question marks around them that could produce and won't cost you that much, which is rare to find on the edge of free agency.
All right, moving on. From Baby Jajay. Between Justin Fields and Zach Wilson, whose skill sets and traits is more likely to provide extended career longevity? Additionally, not a question, we would just like to hear Ramondre Stevenson or some discussion on Ramondre Stevenson get some love.
I don't think there's a discernible difference in terms of longevity for each. Now, Fields, you'll probably use more in the run game than Wilson, which obviously always worries you about taking more hits in that regard. And he holds on to the ball and may take more sacks. That's obviously worrisome. But then Wilson's skinnier and is no stranger to trying to extend plays and taking hits himself. So I honestly don't think there's much of a discernible difference. Both, I would imagine, can play in the league for at least 10 plus years. So Ramondre Stevenson is probably my second favorite power back in the draft class after Najee Harris, obviously, in terms of that's what you want. You want the bell cow between the tackles guy. Ramondre Stevenson, it's hard to beat. Now, he doesn't necessarily run super with power. He runs a little bit like a lighter back sometimes, but it's because he can get away with this, because he has really, really good feet, stop-start ability, cutting ability for a guy who's 230. Well, he's listed at 240-something pounds and comes into the Senior Bowl like 230. That's probably where he's going to play in the NFL. You don't want to be too much bigger than that.
225 is the prime.
Yeah, 225 is about your prime. 165 career attempts, though, is kind of the in an offense like Oklahoma where those aren't NFL concepts. You're getting space created for you a lot in that offense. So that's why it's a little bit lower on the board, and obviously our disdain for the running back position overall.
His advanced stats are also pretty impressive. I think he was top 5 in yards after contact per attempt this past year, and also top 5 in forced missed tackles per attempt this past year. This guy was getting it done, making people miss. All right, from Lil J 925, I've got 2 questions for you. How do you feel about the recent trend of young receivers exclusively choosing numbers in the 10 to 19 range rather than the 80s? Interesting question. I was upset when Pittman switched from 86 to 11. How could you be upset? 11 is sick. Number 2, thoughts on Asante Samuel Jr. to the Bucs at 32.
Yeah. So I got my top 5 wide receiver numbers here.
Oh, wow.
Written down. Number 1, 80. 80 is the GOAT. You can't beat 80 as a wide receiver. Number 2 is 84. AB. Some legends were in 84. Number 3, 18. Now we kick into the single digits. 18 is a great number.
18 is not a top 3 number.
18 is a top 3 number for
no,
receivers. Number 4, 11.
Yeah,
so
sick.
Michael Pittman made the right choice there. Number 5, 89. 89 is a cool number.
89 is a better number than 18.
I have some takes about this also. 88 is a tight end number. Don't wear 88 if you're a wide receiver. Number 12 is a quarterback number. Don't wear number 12 if you're a wide receiver. And then 86 is the worst of all the wide receiver numbers. 86 stinks.
85 stinks.
No, 85 is great.
No, I don't like
maybe
85.
I'm just biased because I had a Greg Jennings jersey growing up, but 85 is all right.
I think
86,
the number that is undervalued on this list is 19. I think 19 is sick for a receiver.
19, who's that? Like Mark Clayton came out as 19.
Juju Smith-Schuster technically wears 19, but I don't categorize. I still think the number's sick. One of my friends in high school wore 19 at receiver. It's pretty dope. I think 89 is also a very good receiver number. I like 89. I think 18 is the only one where I'm just like, you're high.
Who were some 19s? It wasn't Mark Clayton. Who am I thinking of?
I'm not sure of some 19s that like dominated with it, but I think it's an undervalued number and underused. Like more receivers need to pick it coming out. Doesn't Galladay wear 19?
I'm so bad.
I'm so bad at this, but I think 19 is undervalued on this list. Regardless, what are your thoughts
Mark
on
Cooper? There's your boy. Mark Cooper was 19.
He's sick with 19. Yeah, that's exactly right. And he wore 89 in Oakland, so he knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing.
And he wore 9 at Alabama. And if you could wear single digit numbers, 9 is dope. I think 9 is a fantastic number. All right, how do you feel about Asante Samuel Jr. at 32?
I don't know if he sees the field, and we always talk about drafting for your situation and knowing where you're at. The Bucs are in a Super Bowl window that's likely closing within a year or two. So that's why they're throwing this money at Lavonte David for a short-term contract, tagging Godwin, whatever. So you gotta get a guy that's going to see the field. We don't always advocate for that, but this guy that you're drafting at 32 has to see the field. And I think that's why a lot of people are penciling running back, because obviously a running back would see the field for them. But you got 3 kind of established corners there in Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting, that are all young, all developing. He'd only really see the field via injury or dime packages. Not that that's a great necessarily reason to completely eschew value altogether, but I think there will be other options that provide value at that position, 32 overall, that could see the field. Defensive line being likely where that would be.
All right, jumping now to Gurley 17. Looking at it right now, my guess is Trevor Lawrence will end up with the Jags. Fair. Wilson on the Jets. Fields, I have a feeling, will end up with the Falcons, and Trey Lance on either the Eagles or Panthers. If that scenario pans out, very specific, how would you rank them as far as how productive the NFL careers would be? That's an interesting question. I like that. Picking a landing spot for a quarterback and then saying how good would they be, I think that's interesting.
So this one's tough because you don't know exactly what their plan's still going to be. And you got all new GMs. You got all teams here kind of early, and they're like the Jets. Joe Douglas just got there. Falcons, I'm blanking on who their new GM just got there. The Panthers as well. You don't really know what their plan's going to be around those guys if they go to those respective situations. So obviously, Trevor Lawrence, I'd still put 1 because absurd amount of cap space. Already like some talent offensively to work with, and you got Urban Meyer. I don't worry about the sort of scheme he's going to. Number 2, I'd go Fields on that list. Honestly, I think he would be great for Arthur Smith's offense. I think it would be great that he could sit a year or 2 behind Matt Ryan and develop and then get up to speed. And in that span, you would think they start investing in their offense. You know, obviously they have to shed a lot of cap this year, but then after that, they would invest in their offense. And so when Fields is in, you'd have a really good situation to succeed. Zach Wilson's the one where, I like where he's going with LaFleur as the offensive coordinator there. The Jets, I like that system for him. Obviously, it's similar stuff to what he ran at BYU, but you got to add a lot. You need a lot of talent around him, and he's going to be thrown day one into there. So Just wouldn't love that. And then Trey Lance, we see him as too far a tier below these top three to really put him above any of those guys. He would have to go to a really, really good situation. I think the Panthers would probably be the best for him, but even then, offensive line concerns. Not necessarily sure that it's enough to leapfrog him, in my opinion, over one of those top three.
I'd be really interested to see what Joe Brady would do with Trey Lance in year one and year two, because I do think that, even if they do lose Curtis Samuel in free agency, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, obviously Christian McCaffrey coming back healthy, Taylor Mouton on the tag, like there is some pieces there offensively where it's a way better situation than what Philly's got right now. Like if you're picking landing spots for Trey Lance between Carolina and Philadelphia, like you're going to have more success in Carolina out of the gate, but defensively still the Panthers are a long ways away. They've drafted well. I think there's a lot of guys that could play better in year two, like Yeturgos Matos, Derek Brown, Jeremy Chin. I think you could see them have some development on the back end defensively, but offensively, they're in a good place. Like you get a quarterback that has some like ceiling level traits like Lance does.
Whoa, don't say ceiling.
Sorry, don't say ceiling. High traits, good traits. High traits. All right. Moving to SDINON. Should the Dolphins pick Sewell at 3 and then Bateman or Moore at 18 or 36?
Both. Do both. That'd be sweet. Do all three, 18 and 36.
So get Sewell at 3, Bateman at 18, and then Rondo Moore at 36. That's hot.
That's real hot. That's kind of, that's what the Broncos did last year. They gave Drew Lock no excuse developmentally.
But they're still making excuses.
And then they're still making excuses for him, sadly. But that's what you got to do with a young quarterback. You got to find that out. You can't be Daniel Jones in it with the Giants right now, where you're making every excuse in the book for him because you haven't provided him any situation that you think is going to be viable for him to win. And you will. And when you draft a guy that highly, you will make every single excuse in the book for your guy. You want people have that strong inherent, you're tied to, there's some sort of bias that I can't come up with off the top of my name, but they want their previous decisions to work out, and you'll do anything to justify them. It's kind of what the Bears did.
Confirm your priors, man.
Yeah. So,
and I definitely will not forget how much the Giants fan base did not want a wide receiver in 2020. Like they did not want a wide receiver. A lot of Giants fans wanted an offensive tackle or another position, and now they're like desperately clawing for Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle to fall to them. And like that is the opposite of the situation you want to be in. Take the best player available all the time. And Andrew Thomas was our top ranked tackle. It wasn't a bad pick by any means, but just don't get locked into needs for your team. Take players that are ranked highly on your board at valuable positions in the first round.
And I will say this about the Sewell at 3 conversation and us saying, we'd like to trade down because obviously they have a bunch of needs. But every year there's not a Penei Sewell. Like if you sit there and draft Penei Sewell, home run. You're happy as can be. And the pick value charts would say pick 3 is only, XX value if you draft quarterback, XX value if you don't draft quarterback, and it's way lower if you don't draft quarterback. But sometimes Luke Jokel is the top tackle on the board when you get to pick 2 or pick 3. Sometimes Dante Fowler is the top edge on the board. There's not always a Chase Young or a Penei Sewell. You should be thanking your lucky stars that there's a Penei Sewell that you can be there and draft. So we say, trade down from that. You're not going to recruit your value. You might be able to actually with the Penei Sewell. You might just want to stay there and make that pick because you don't find blue chip talent. It's difficult to find it in free agency. It's difficult to find it outside the top 5 to 10 in NFL drafts oftentimes. So I'm not going to blame them for sitting there and taking that pick, just like I wouldn't blame Washington last year for sitting there and taking Chase Young.
And I think that perspective and contextual analysis where you're comparing prospects to previous draft classes and looking at him as like individual, like not like this is the best tackle in this class, but how good is he overall, comes with like, I think being in the game for a while. Because I think when you first start looking at the NFL draft and you first start evaluating talent, I feel like you're in that position where every single year there's good players. But eventually you need to have this like high level view of, hey, he's the best tackle in this class, but how good is he compared to previous classes and future classes? Because you don't want to lock into, I need an edge, we'll take the best edge that falls to us, because sometimes the best edge in 2020 is like the 16th ranked edge in 2018 or whatever it may be. Like you have to have that like contextual analysis to go. Before we jump to the next mailbag question, I wanted to react to some live news here before the weekend. Chiefs have released Eric Fisher, which I think was expected considering that he's coming off an injury, and do a pretty heavy cap number.
This is what they had to do unless they wanted to kick the can. This is the only move they really could make to get under the cap.
Yeah, I think they would either have to like extend him and push some of that money down the road, maybe go void year action, which Brad Spielberger will talk about when we interview him. But I do think that this was the move that we kind of expected because the Chiefs need to get under the cap and need to make some moves. Do you think again, and we've talked a lot about tackle at 31 to the Kansas City Chiefs, don't lock into need, but I think the value is really going to make sense for the Chiefs at 31. Get that fifth-year option on a valuable position at like tackle, and get Tevin Jenkins or maybe Walker Little of Stanford. Like, go get Sam Cosmi of Texas, Alex Leatherwood. Like, go get a tackle at 31 if the value makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, they have Lucas Niang, who they drafted third last year.
The gangly octopus guy, the guy whose technique is just all over the place.
But I think this kind of locks them in at this point because they're in a pretty strong Super Bowl window. They've paid a lot to get this roster that they have right now. Yeah, I'm actually more interested to see where Fisher ends up because he could still be a nice piece for like a Super Bowl.
Average to above average tackle in the NFL and have a ton of value.
He's not going to cost a ton because of that injury, but down the stretch for someone next year, he's been about 6 straight years of plus pass protection. That's very valuable for a contender if he can play the second half of the season. So I'm actually very curious to see where he ends up because he'll be very good value, I'd imagine, for what he could do for a team in a Super Bowl run.
And we've said this before, you don't have to be elite at all 5 positions along the offensive line. It's a weak link unit where you just don't want to have a guy that's an obvious, guy who can't pass protect. But getting in Eric Fisher, a guy who will be, when he comes back from injury, most likely an average to above average pass protector at left tackle, that has a ton of value. And I think teams should jump at that, specifically contenders. All right. This is from Nerds Like Beer 2. My question as an Atlanta fan, what would be the franchise overall difference for Atlanta staying at 4 and presumably getting Fields versus the cost of going up to 2 for Wilson if the Jets want to stay with Darnold? What would it take to jump from 4 to 2?
So for the Bears to jump from 3 to 2, which the one spot
for Trubisky,
the one spot trades always crack me up. Yeah, in 2017 for Trubisky, they had to give up a 2017 third, a 2017 fourth, and a 2018 third. That was just go from 3 to 2. So I'd tack on
a second
to that at least to get that spot. Now, they're close enough. Wilson and Fields close enough on our board. I wouldn't do that at all. But there's a pick in between you that is very hotly been rumored as a trade spot with the Miami Dolphins there, that the Panthers, Broncos, someone could be going up there, 49ers, to go get that, the other one that doesn't get picked at number 2. So do you do it if you're a Falcons? I think you just let the board fall. You need these picks. You need young talent. I think you just let the board fall and hope that guy does come to you. Or even if it does fall, and you just sit there and get Trey Lance if you really want to be in the quarterback class. Because Trey Lance doesn't make it to pick 12 every year, where you're likely to be drafting pick 12 or later, where you're likely to be drafting next year.
All right, this is from Sammy Nemi. My question is, assuming that the Eagles don't take a quarterback at 6, what do you think they should do? Should they trade down or pick someone like Kyle Pitts or if Jamar Chase falls? Do you think that Devontae Smith would be a bad pick at 6? Thank you guys and keep up the amazing content. I'll start here. You don't trade down, I think, unless a quarterback is there at 6. And if a quarterback is there at 6, you probably should take him. That's the thing. So I do think that Eagles fans hoping they trade down to allocate more players, it's not going to happen unless one of the big 4 falls. And I think if one of the big 4 falls of the quarterbacks, like all the quarterbacks ahead of Mac Jones on PFF's board, you should take one. Because even if you like Jalen Hurts, we've talked about it a ton. You want multiple swings of the bat quarterback position. It's never a bad thing to have good quarterbacks on your roster. You just traded Carson Wentz after the worst season we've ever seen from him for a 3rd and a potential 1st-round pick. Go get quarterbacks. They have value. And if one doesn't pan out, you can trade him for a 2nd rounder or even a 1st rounder in the future.
You want a good thought exercise about quarterback value and why you should still be taking these shots at quarterbacks? Think about what you would give up right now, draft pick-wise, for Saquon Barkley. And then think about what you would give up draft pick-wise for Sam Darnold. One was about as good as you can do at one position. One was about as bad as you can do at one position. And the draft picks that you'd give up for each are not too dissimilar.
They're not at all. I think Sam Darnold ultimately gets traded for a 2nd or a 3rd round pick, and I'm not trading a 1st for Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
And the opportunity to pay him like the highest paid running back in the NFL. That's what you have to factor in. Man, that's interesting. That is a good thought exercise. Okay, so what do the Eagles do at 6?
So I think I had this take on the other pod, Kyle Pitts, right? That was my take. And
because he's sweet.
Because he's fucking sweet, yeah. That's how I feel. Now, Chase, Smith, probably not Waddle because he's can be a little redundant in your offense to Jalen Reagor. They do a lot of the same things. But Chase or Pitts or Smith, yeah, your money. And the whole, you can wait to the second round to get one of those guys. Your wide receiver scouting has been kind of shit lately. You've been trying that, and it hasn't necessarily worked. So maybe get the guy that's very safe, shall we say. You feel very good about Chase or Smith being hits at the wide receiver position when it's a position you need to hit at, and they haven't necessarily done that in second.
So you're not projecting a third-year breakout for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside?
No, I still am. Trust me, I still am. This is his year.
Fair enough. All right, this is from GoDogs417. Love the pod. Wondering if you guys could, 1, rank the best Power 5 conferences in football, and 2, rank the best divisions in the NFL. Interesting.
Technically, it's Power 6 when you include Notre Dame. So SEC is number 1. You got Notre Dame number 2, the Division I Independents.
This is a disastrous list.
Number 3 is the Big 10.
Remove D1 Independence from this atrocity.
Number 4 is the Big 12. Number 5 is the Pac-12. And number 6, the ACC.
You're putting ACC at 6?
It's just Clemson. I mean, think about the other programs.
I'd put ACC over Pac-12 at the least.
No, Pac-12 is better depth.
Depends what you're looking for in a conference, though. Like, do you want what I'm thinking about is which conferences have legitimate contenders to pursue a national championship. The
that's
Pac-12
not what I was thinking
doesn't.
of.
Like, there's not a single team in the Pac-12 that's consistently pursuing a
I was
national
more
championship.
saying breadth of draftable
What's the point of
here.
that, though? What's the point of, like, oh, wow, they have a lot of good teams? Like, that doesn't do anything for me.
Okay, you're the college football playoff hound that only cares about chips.
I only care about
that's
chips.
Not the point of
I only care about
college.
Chips.
That's not the spirit of college
Notre
football.
Dame is way off the reservation. If anything, they should be lower than the Pac-12.
Hey, they've been to 2 playoffs and 1 national championship in the last
Based
decade.
off ridiculous bias towards...
Ridiculous. They went 12-0. Anyway, okay.
It was still a bad football team.
We're going to go here.
Brady couldn't get on the pod. Where's Brady? I'm not going to touch on that. Go into the NFL division.
Okay,
please.
NFL divisions. This one's a little tougher because I was trying to project forward some. I think the AFC North is the best division in football. I think that one's kind of feel fairly clear cut. The only other division I'd say has maybe an argument is the NFC West at the moment. So that's my 1 and 2. Then AFC South at 3 with Trevor Lawrence, Jags on the come up. Obviously the Texans on the come down, but I think you got 3 very solid teams then there with the Jags, Titans, and Colts. AFC West gets the 4 spot. Chiefs obviously carrying that. AFC East, the 5 spot. I think they'll have, obviously with Zach Wilson coming in there, Zach Wilson, I've been penciling it. Whatever quarterback they have coming in there, Jets on a turnaround, Dolphins coming up, Bills, obviously very good. And I think that Patriots are going to try to turn things around this year. They're going to try to add over the course of this offseason. NFC North, NFC South, NFC East to close it out. NFC has some tough teams now. And with the Saints maybe on a free fall, the Falcons maybe on a lull here. I think those 2 divisions could be the worst 2 in football, the South and the East.
I like it. I think I'm contemplating whether or not I would want to switch the AFC West and AFC South and give them a little bit more credit for the Kansas City Chiefs, and then also Los Angeles Chargers, Justin Herbert
Chargers
too.
come up, yeah.
But then you have like the doormats like Denver and Las Vegas that like aren't going to consistently pursue
I
even
think
deep
they're
postseason runs.
Yeah, I think those are the 7-9, 8-8 teams, 9-7.
All right, looking at AICK and like 51s. I know you guys would probably say my beloved Raiders are more than one successful offseason away from being a legitimate playoff threat in the AFC. But regardless, they're going to approach this spring with their sights on the postseason. Oh, so maybe he meant wouldn't say. Do you think their best option would be to trade down from 17 and acquire as many defensive players via the draft as possible within reason? And do you think that a trade down from 17 that Mayock/Gruden would they even consider that trade down? Any chance they would even have a trade partner there?
I would hope so. I would hope they consider trade down. I don't know if they would.
Every team
because, they already draft second rounders in the first anyway. So why not just load up on them in the second?
I mean, if you're going to consistently take reaches, like consensus reaches, you might as well just kind of come down the board a little bit.
So they traded down for Colton Miller, I believe, was the last time. That wasn't Mayock's first draft. That wasn't Mayock's.
That was Gruden's first draft.
Gruden's first draft.
Well, Reggie McKenzie was technically the GM, but I don't
GM.
think he was making a lot of decisions.
Yeah. So, Yeah, I mean, I'd love it. And I'd love to invest in that defense. But now you got this whole offensive line problem to fix as well. And it's a deep tackle class, deep interior offensive line class. I don't think you can ignore any position. I think you just got to play that board as it falls in this year.
Losing Richie Incognito, Trent Brown, and Gabe Jackson creates at the very least, a problem along the offensive line. Nelson Aguilar is a free agent. Henry Ruggs needs a big leap in year 2. Mm-hmm. Hunter Renfrow is purely a slot type. You have Darren Waller, Derek Carr, and Josh Jacobs as like your 3 like core pieces offensively. And you could argue that like Derek Carr maybe isn't a top 5 quarterback, but he's definitely in that 8 to 12 range when he's at his best. And we saw that this past year. But then you go to the defensive side, and there's not a single player on defense that you feel all that confident being top 8 to 12 at their position. Would you? Is there a single player on the Raiders defense that's even top 15 at their position?
There's not one.
That, obviously, again, is and I've said this, I've had this take multiple times. People see some of the takes that the Raiders should trade Derek Carr, that Derek Carr's not good. That's not it. Derek Carr is good. The problem is he's like your only good player. And he's not so good that he can lift this roster, onto his back. He's good. Get some value for him. I think you could get a first in exchange for Derek Carr, especially with how favorable his contract is now, and then reset because you, again, don't have a good football team. Derek Carr is good. If you're trading Derek Carr, it's because he is good. You're getting a first-round pick for him because he is good. The problem is he's not good enough to carry an absolutely atrocious roster, both defensively and now offensively. Their offensive line used to be a strength. Brown, Incognito, Gabe Jackson, Rodney Hudson, they had 4 legitimate top 5 to 10 players at each position. Now it's completely trounced. And now you're even in a worse spot than you were before. And if Nelson Aguilar walks in free agency, which I don't think would be dumb for him to do, I think there will be teams throwing some money at him, and he could probably be in a better situation than what Las Vegas is in now. I mean, you're looking at Brian Edwards, Henry Ruggs, and Hunter Renfrow at receiver next year? A little scary. Yep. A little scary, fellas. A little scary. All right, from Big Willie. Sorry, Billy. I wish it was Billy. Big Willie 04. Who should the Niners target in the mid to late rounds of the draft?
So they've had some success with kind of athletes that weren't either featured or kind of out of position. George Kittle obviously comes to mind. Fred Warner comes to mind in the later on. Warner, a 3rd rounder, Kittle, a 5th rounder. So I think guys that fit that, who have nice all-around athletic profiles, and then maybe the NFL won't be as high on for one reason or another at positions that obviously they could need. Illinois guard/center Kendrick Green, freak athlete. Obviously plays at Illinois. Not going to be scouted super highly. Didn't come out with the hype of a Trey Smith. Only really this past year turned it on. Only really 1 year of good production there at Illinois. I think he could be in the mix, especially with their need along the interior of the offensive line. Probably in 3rd, 4th type of round. And then I'll say Syracuse Trill Williams as well. Guy who played slot cornerback there, but really profiles as an outside cornerback, especially in that 49ers scheme. Bruce Spellman's Freaks List member. I honestly think I kind of like his tape at slot. He's a very physical player, has that STI that you love. So
what?
The speed, toughness, and
intensity.
Intensity. There you go.
That was an old Daniel Jeremiah scouting term.
DJ
you were telling me that this morning.
Yeah.
An STI. How'd you phrase it? An STI you love.
Yeah.
How many STIs have you had that you love? No
0.
comment. Don't comment on that. We got the 22-year-old listening, so but your prospects. I still love the age conversation. People don't know how old you are.
I don't love the age conversation.
Tell the listeners how old you are.
They know. I'm 30 years old.
30 years old. Living the dream, too. Living the absolute
31,
dream.
2 days before the draft.
Trill Williams, I don't think is being talked about a ton in this class. And I think originally when I turned on his tape, after seeing him on the Bruce Feldman's list, I was like, oh my God, this guy's a roller coaster, just like Cisco. And there's a lot of what are we doing, Trill? But when you go back and think about him as a day 2 player with all his tools, athleticism, and maybe playing him at outside corner, you start to get a little bit more excited about him as a prospect. Yeah. I don't know what his STI is exactly, and I don't really want to get into that background. STI. That's not in the draft guide, by the way. I do the backgrounds for the draft guide. I don't look at STIs. This is from...
It's protected by HIPAA.
That's true. This is from OGVG That's my mom's name, actually. If Trayvon Moore falls to the Broncos pick in the 2nd round, should they take him? I feel like it would be a great pickup for him to learn behind Kareem and Simmons.
Yes, take him. I mean, Kareem's versatile. That guy can play slot. He can do a lot of other things. You can have Moore just be like a Dimebacker if you really wanted to. So yeah, that would be an exceptional value, and I think he'd be a good scheme fit too. So.
He has a second follow-up. If Morik doesn't fall to them, who should they take in the second?
I've been saying Asante Samuel for every Fangio disciple. It's like, that's your fit. That's your guy you want in that scheme. So the Brennan Staley and now whoever the DC is for the Packers, those teams, that's who I would love Asante Samuel to go to a team like that. But low-key, they could use tackle help.
Yeah.
Juwan James, dude hasn't played in 2 years. We don't know what he's going to be coming back here. So Sam Cosmi, I would love to see as a possible maybe not replacement, but just like some assurance, because you're not going to get a tackle class like this every year. Take advantage of it.
And that's Sam Cosmi, Texas offensive tackle. All right, 3 more questions here, and then we got to wrap. We continue to grind through these, but we're going to have to do something. Do we have another 20 pages of reviews? And that doesn't even include the international questions. We have to do something. The double podcast is not even doing enough. The bonus mailbag isn't doing enough. We're going to have to find a way to get better here. Maybe we just go live all night one night and just rush these things.
24-hour
Who knows?
mailbag.
We have to think of something. All right, this is from Ben Shimmer. I have a question about, and he has 2 questions. I have a question about a potential game-breaking offensive philosophy I thought up on draft night to justify the Eagles drafting Jalen Hurts in round 2. I'm excited for this. After hearing a Taysom Hill package on steroids, you're a big steroids guy, was being developed, I'm wondering if you think there is any viability to using him as a passer out of the backfield at running back, or just the implementation of running backs who can throw. Pitches could essentially serve as a rollout for the passer or a run if that's available. Could be stupid, but also if it's a work of genius, maybe answer privately so nobody steals my idea. What are your thoughts originally?
I love it.
I kind of like it too. The rollout, when he mentioned rollout, I was like, wait a second, that could work.
Trey Lance and Jalen Hurts, and that's your 1-2. Think about it.
You have to zig at some point. As the NFL continues to zag, you have to zig. Yeah. And is this it? I don't know. We're trying. The Eagles are going to be a dumpster fire next year.
Fortune favors the bold. Innovation is the root of... There's a saying about that or something. I don't know.
Jesus. If it doesn't work too, you just move on from it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, you go give it 4 weeks, 4 games, and if it's complete track, because no one knows how to stop that right now. I don't think.
Yeah, you break that out in the playoffs. That's when you break it out.
Oh, really?
Save it all.
When the Eagles go to the playoffs next year, can't wait. This is his second question. One more question about Hurts/QBs in general. From everything I've heard about Jalen Hurts, he has incredible work ethic, squats really well. I've heard that as well. And saw most of his progression late in college at Oklahoma. You guys are low on him, though, and I was wondering what your perspectives are on work ethic and QB development after their rookie year. Can I start?
Yeah.
I think development, work ethic matters. Absolutely. But let's think about what the ceiling is for Jalen Hurts. You hate ceiling. I get it. But view him as a prospect at his peak. I like thinking about their peak. And you've heard Bucky Brooks talk about grade the flashes.
Thinking about them peaking.
You talk about Bucky Brooks grading the flashes. Even the flashes for Jalen Hurts aren't better than probably the top 4 quarterbacks in this class. It's not like the flashes, the high end, the best Jalen Hurts we've seen is still not
That's the thing.
That caliber of quarterback. And could he be better than we've ever seen? Yeah. But are you, as an evaluator and as a developer, thinking we can make Jalen Hurts better than he's ever been, even in a single play or element? I don't know. Yeah. That's tough.
And it kind of goes back to the Steph Curry, my Steph Curry theory. You could shoot all day, every day for the next 5 years. You're not going to shoot like Steph Curry. You're not. You can develop into a borderline NBA 3-point shooter. You're not going to develop into Steph Curry. You're not going to develop that level of accuracy. And so when you're starting, some guys just have some of that, or you don't. And so when you're starting being as inaccurate as he is, and he doesn't have a monster arm either. He was 40th out of 44 qualifying quarterbacks in terms of accuracy on target rate of his passes last year. Only Dwayne Haskins, Turbo, Carson Wentz, and Jake Luton were lower.
Turbo? Is that Trubisky?
That's Mitch Trubisky, yeah. That's just like you're never going to be. You're never going to turn into. I mean, Josh Allen got more accurate. He's still not going to turn into like Drew Brees.
It's like you could play beer die for the next 5 years. You're not going to catch die like me. You're just not going to get to that level if you continue to do that. We need to play beer die with the fans. Could I get some feedback on this in the YouTube comments or in the reviews? Mike and I have been throwing this idea around. We're talking about listenership and retention, and we want to do more engagement stuff like listener mailbags.
You've been talking about that.
I've been talking about that because I'm the business here. I'm the business side. You're like, I just show up and I ask their draft questions. But
I'm the hammer.
You're the hammer. Let's get some feedback on if post-COVID, vaccination city, we were in, say, different schools around the country. Yeah. We go travel to Notre Dame. We go travel to University of Tennessee. Ohio State, Clemson, and we were tailgating out there, not recording a podcast, not doing anything. Would you guys play die with us? Because I'm just looking to play some die. And if it can be on PFF's dime, I want to do it. We bring producer Quinn out there, maybe producer Dave. That could be a decent, opportunity. We'll see. Just give us some feedback. We need it. All right, last question. We got to wrap. Big Blue Drew. For the Giants, assuming the top 4 pass catchers are off the board, Pitts included. Okay, I thought he meant including Bateman. I was like, I like this guy. Would you like to see the G-men go corner with Surtain or Farley or offensive line like Slater? The offensive line looks shaky with Solder and Zeitler as potential cap casualties. Fun fact, Zeitler's gone. Yeah. But the value of second lockdown outside corner could make our secondary dangerous. I agree. Going off that, how do you gauge bumping tackles inside to guards? For instance, if the Giants take Slater and put him outside, Matt Pert looked decent last year, and we might shift him inside. Pert inside? Doesn't he have insane length, though? I mean,
I honestly like him better inside, though. He does have great length, but I think ultimately his feet would be better off.
Really?
Just a little slower. But they need they have to address O-line prior to the draft. Now, say whatever you want about Zeitler's cap hit and being a lot this year. He still was your best pass protecting offensive lineman last year. You just lost your best pass protecting offensive line on what was the worst pass protecting offensive line in the NFL. That means you're going to need some help there. That means you're going to need a lot. You need at least 2 guys prior to the draft, and then in the draft you could use another. So I do think that is where I would go. I would sign 2 of these guys. Any 2 will do. Any 2 are an upgrade from what you got, along the interior at least, to not pigeonhole yourself, because you don't want to be just saying, even Slater could, 1, be off the board, 2, just being like, oh, I have to draft Rashawn Slater. If like a Kyle Pitts falls to you, if a guy that really is special falls to you that you would otherwise want, you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into pick number 11.
I'm going to sneak in one more question because it's an easy answer. From Kang Forever. I think we hear plenty about the top end receivers, Chase, Waddle, Smith, Bateman. Can we get some more in-depth analysis on tier 3 receivers like Terrace Marshall, Tylan Wallace, Mario Terry? We just did our wide receiver position overview. Kang Forever, go back and listen to episode 164. That is our wide receiver class position overview. Go check that out. We talked a lot about Marshall, Wallace, and Terry.
We'll be doing every position. I think Monday is going to be running backs, tight ends. Then after that, we're going to be offensive line. And then defensive line will be a week after that. Linebackers, corner safeties.
You know all the positions.
I'm just listing them off. Yeah. That's what you get here at PFF. I know all positions on the football field.
I had to. Cool, man. Well, this has been fun. The listener mailbag, we continue to grind it through. I'm going to think on our end on how we can answer more questions. You guys provide feedback on the tailgate tour and how we can maybe answer more questions. I don't know. Help us out here. But if you want your question answered by 2026, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and drop your question in there. Until next time, Austin Gayle, producer Mike Quinn in spirit, Mike Renner, and producer Dave. Got to bring up producer Dave. Until next time, 2-for-1 Drafts. Now joining the 2-for-1 Drafts podcast is close friend of mine and PFF salary cap analyst, probably your go-to analyst for salary cap information during March, and it's Brad Spielberger, PFF_Brad on Twitter. I'm going to do a little bit of a cold open here. Where I really want to start is how in the hell are the New Orleans Saints going to get over the cap? I mean, giving Marcus Williams the franchise tag, which I think is valued at somewhere in the $10.1, $10.2 million range, again adds to this mystery, this wizardry that Mickey Loomis is going to have to pull to get ahead of the cap. Like, what exactly, is it void years? Is it, I don't know. What are the Saints going to do to get out of this situation?
I mean, the Saints are truly coming for my job. It's kind of messed up if you think about it. But yeah, I mean, they're showing that at the end of the day, if you want a player, you can keep them. Like the cap is a constraint, and that it will limit things at certain times. They tried to sign Jadeveon Clowney last offseason and couldn't. So Saints fans are going to be flooding my mentions this week because I said it would be impossible to tag Marcus Williams.
Uh-oh.
Like, yes. Yeah. Oh, no. But anyway, so what they're going to have to do, they already started this morning. They already restructured Andres Pete and Malcolm Jenkins' contract, and they're going to continue their plug-in. They already restructured Cam Jordan. They're going to restructure Michael Thomas probably. They're going to have to extend Ryan Ramczyk and or Marshawn Lattimore. Like, we can go down the list. I could spend like the entire segment just talking about what they're going to have to do just to get above water. With Williams specifically, it's interesting. I think he has some leverage in that an extension obviously helps them. You know, he can drop that cap number down.
Very true.
And they also, one last thing, just to, for a classic shout out to Mickey Loomis and their cap guy, Kai Harley. Like, they did something I've never seen last year with Sheldon Rankins, which was He added void years to his 5th-year option, which I've never seen before. So they might try to convince Marcus Williams to add void years to his franchise tag. The thing there, though, is it's not – you can convert money and push it down the line unilaterally as a team. You cannot add void years unilaterally. It's effectively a contract extension, so to speak. So to convince Marcus Williams, say, hey, we didn't extend you, we didn't give you the multi-year deal. We're going to slap a tag on you for below your market value. But, hey, can you do us a favor and slap some void years on your deal and help us on the cap? He might not be amenable to that. But yeah, they're going to do everything, in the book.
For the idiots that didn't graduate from Tulane Law, how the fuck do void years work? Like how because I saw the Levante David signing where he signed a 5-year deal, but 3 void years. And I think Big Ben's contract is like that. Like what exactly is going on? And here's how we will break it down. How do the teams benefit from void years? And how do the players not just like get absolutely boned by void years?
Yeah, so J.J. Watt had it as well. He also signed a 5-year deal that was actually just 2 years. Him and Levante David's deals are very similar. So the reason why both sides like it. Okay, so from a team side, obviously you clear cap space. And what you're doing with a void year is it's not a real contract year. It's a dummy year. And all it's doing is holding prorated bonus money. So we'll use Levante David as an example. He signed a 2-year, $25 million deal. I don't know if we know the details yet, but let's say there's a $10 million signing bonus. If he just had the 2 years on the deal, there would be $5 million in 2021 and $5 million in 2022 from that signing bonus. By adding the 3 void years on the end, it's just a $2 million cap hit in all 5 years. So they saved $3 million up in 2021 by pushing money down the line. And so that's why they do it. And then from the player perspective, it doesn't mess with cash flows. So they're still getting their money when it's due. He's still only under contract for 2 years. What the void actually means is that after 2022, there's a date typically like, a week after the Super Bowl where the 2023 through 2025 years will just void. They'll just disappear. There will be a dead cap charge that gets accelerated up. But yeah, so from the player perspective, they don't mind it. The cash is the same, all of that. From the team side, it's obviously beneficial. I've had people ask me, like, why is this allowed? Why is this legal? I couldn't give you a good answer, but no party's against it. So I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon.
So that prorated bonus is after they're off the team, that 3rd year. So it's in these 2-year/5-year deals, there would be still a dead cap charge that 3rd year. Is that how that works?
Right. So then for these ones, because there's 3, like 2023 through 2025 would all accelerate up onto 2023. Yeah, and there'd be a dead cap charge after the guy's already gone. So
is that what
right now I mentioned with Sheldon Rankins. Sheldon Rankins has a dead cap hit on the Saints right now after his 5th-year option year, for example.
Is that what the Steelers did with Big Ben? How did they create space in that regard?
Yep, they did the same thing. So he did agree to a minor pay cut, but also same thing. They added a bunch of void years, turned a bunch of salary and roster bonus, which hits in the current year, into a signing bonus and kicked it down the line. Yep, same exact thing.
That's another clarification too. That when you see players agree to convert some of their salary to bonuses, the reason that they do that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're the analyst here, you're the salary cap guy. The reason that they do that is that future cap hit for, say, in this case, 2021, immediately goes back to like 2020. Because you made it into a bonus for the 2020 league year, you get to count it against last year's cap instead of this year's cap. Is that how that works?
That was a particular quirk with Roethlisberger for the whole, like this offseason. Basically, there's cash, there's cap spending tranches of years. We're getting into the nitty gritty now.
I love it. Like, I'm in.
There is a cap floor. So this is what the cap floor means. And basically, over 2021 through 2023, teams have to spend at least 90% of the cumulative 3-year cap. And so how that's accounted for basically is you want money to hit like starting March 18th. So Dak Prescott, for example, they might wait to officially sign his deal until March 18th so that it counts in that 3-year tranche. Otherwise, they're adding money into the 2017 to 2020, from the old CBA, the old kind of cap minimum. So if that gets into salary cap floor, that's a whole nother conversation.
So the tag deadline was yesterday, I believe, and we saw a number of different guys tagged, but notably Kenny Golladay, who I think everyone and their mother thought was going to get tagged, did not get tagged. What do you think was the process for the Lions not tagging him? And do you think tag and trades, which we thought even in the worst case scenario they would tag and trade Kenny Golladay, do you think those aren't going to necessarily be viable this year? Whereas I think the Bears with Allen Robinson, that's what they're kind of banking on with the tag there that they just put on him.
Yeah, so I think Galladay just ended up making it very clear, like, I do not want to be here. Like, even if you do try to work with an extension, like, I just don't want to be a Detroit Lion. I mean, they've been so bad for his entire career there, and essentially now they're starting a rebuild. So, like, I get it. He's going to be 28 years old, good receiver, battled through injuries last year, and tried to play for a hapless franchise. So, I think he just made it really clear. Like maybe he wasn't going to show up. Say, hey, if you tag me, I'm just not going to play this year. I'm going to pull Le'Veon Bell. Whatever the case was there. So they ultimately decided to just let him walk. They're not going to sign anyone in free agency. So hopefully get a third-round compensatory pick when Galladay does sign a huge deal elsewhere. As for the tag and trade discussion, I mean, teams can fit a franchise tag on the cap, and also if you're going to trade for a guy, let's say Allen Robinson, if a team does pony up and trade for Allen Robinson, odds are they're also signing him to an extension as a part of that trade, and then again doing all the cap manipulations we just talked about. So I think it's only less likely in that. Like trades in general, I think are just going to be down because you're parting with draft capital, and we just found out this morning the cap's $182.5 million. So it's going to be hard to fit money on the cap in the first place. So I think teams are going to try to say, hey, well, normally we'd offer you, a second round and a fourth round for Allen Robinson, but we're doing you a favor by clearing $18 million off the books for you, Chicago. So now we're going to offer you, a second and a sixth or, whatever. And I don't see why teams would take less of a trade package just to clear cap, so I think that might work against it.
Something I wanted to ask about, this situation is of the guys who were tagged yesterday, who do you feel like is most likely, or who are some of the guys you feel are most likely to get an extension done before, obviously, that deadline?
I think Leonard Williams sticks out. I think he's the big one in New York. It was a second franchise tag for him. They traded from the Jets, third and a fifth round pick to get him, then tagged him last year. Slapped a $19.35 million tag on him for this year, which I have to guess is kind of around what he's looking for. I think he's looking for $20 million per year, which I know some people scoff at, but I mean, he's a sixth overall pick that consistently has been dominant against the run, finally had a good year, against the pass, getting after the passer. So that's probably what he's looking for, and at this point I think he's going to get something close to that. So yeah, the Giants are just not in a good cap situation. They don't have players to pay because they don't have talent on their roster. Like I don't see why they wouldn't just go ahead and extend him. And then him and Dexter Lawrence will kind of be that interior for going forward. And then I guess one other one would be Justin Simmons in Denver. I think they are working towards a deal. I think they're probably pretty close. I think he will top the safety market. He'll beat out Budda Baker as the highest paid safety in the NFL. But I think it'll be smart. I think teams paying these free safeties now would be smart because there's going to be a wave of guys coming up that's going to, if you're the first one in, for example, Tre'Davious White signed for $17.25 million per year. It was the highest paid corner on the market. Everyone's like, oh, wow, he's the highest paid cornerback. Wow, that's kind of Bills. Is he really that good? Boom, a month later, Jalen Ramsey, $20 million per year. Marlon Humphrey, $19.5 million per year. So being first to market, but when there's a boom coming, which it is at safety, can be smart. I
mean, Mike has said that a handful of times that right now the NFL significantly undervalues the safety position. I think getting in before that boom, I think is very smart. The other thing I wanted to add, and we talked to you a little bit, I think, on our Sirius show about some tag candidates and those things, and you brought up Aaron Jones. And now the Green Bay Packers have decided to not tag him. He'll likely test free agency. The thing I don't know is that I do think the NFL is catching up on the idea that paying running backs big time money oftentimes puts you in a bad situation. Then you factor in, I feel like, the evidence we've gathered over the past 3 years of like big time running backs that get paid a ton of money not necessarily living up to that value, and this $182.5 million cap. Do you think Aaron Jones doesn't necessarily break the bank on the open market? Do you think teams are smarter than that and he signs a more, a less than monster deal, that maybe some are expecting?
I do think teams are catching up. I think we saw last offseason with the extensions to guys like Dalvin Cook, guys like Derrick Henry, even Kamara, the numbers are inflated. Like it says $15 million per year, but it's not. It's about the same as those guys, around $13 million. So I think, yes, like he's not going to break the bank. The Le'Veon Bell situation in free agency, like I don't think a guy that reaches the market at that position, all it takes is having a couple suitors that drive the price up. So I still think he's going to get a nice deal. But I think he's going to settle in that same range, kind of that 13, 14, whereas historically you'd say like, okay, really good player at the position, hitting free agency, still relatively young. Not a ton of tread on his tires, had Jamal Williams, and last year A.J. Dillon kind of spelling him a bit. So you'd think he would push for 15, 16, kind of close to McCaffrey, not quite McCaffrey. I don't think that's going to happen. I think teams are smart enough at this point to not do that. But he is also the only running back on the market, really. I mean, it's him and Chris Carson and James Conner, I guess, and that's it. So I could see a team like Miami, maybe get a little bit desperate and maybe kind of jump at the opportunity to get the only guy in the class. But yeah, I don't think they're going to break the bank.
Mike, I think the next thing I wanted to talk about, or not Mike, Brad, the next thing I wanted to talk about was a piece you wrote for PFF.com. You have, which I think is one of the better pieces you wrote. And you write a lot of really good content for PFF.com, but I think more so than ever, every single March, no one understands what the fuck is going on with incentive-laden contracts, compensatory picks, total guaranteed versus guaranteed at signing, all this stuff. You wrote salary cap terms and tricks to know ahead of free agency. I would definitely encourage you to check it out on PFF.com. But something that I found interesting in there is that you talk about incentives and those that are likely to be earned and unlikely to be earned. Break that down for me.
Yeah, definitely. So this is something we're going to see all offseason long. In that there's different ways to account for them on the cap. So first of all, what do you determine not likely to be earned versus not likely to be earned? Use J.J. Watt as an example. He had 5 sacks last year. So if the incentive said J.J. Watt will earn $1 million if he has 4 or more sacks, so less than what he had last year with 5, that would be likely to be earned because we'd say, okay, well, he beat that last year, so it's likely he's going to do it again. If it was 6 or more sacks and he gets $1 million, you'd say, okay, this is not likely to be earned. It's higher than he had last year. Why that matters is that if the incentive is likely to be earned when you sign it on the contract, it will count on the 2021 cap immediately. In that, for the Watt example, there'd be an extra $1 million on his cap hit for that 4+ sack number. If it's not likely to be earned, it does not get counted on the cap during the 2021 season. What happens is at the end of the year, and this just happened last week, is called the annual adjustment, where basically the team goes through all of their incentives and their escalators and all these things and deals and say, okay, this player, reached his incentive, so plus $1 million. This guy didn't hit his, so, minus $1 million. They go back and forth. So if you saw last week, the Buccaneers obviously had by far the biggest negative adjustment because all their guys had playoff incentives and Super Bowl incentives and all this stuff. So Brady alone made $3.3 million by himself just in hitting all these various incentives. But it didn't count on the cap during their Super Bowl run 2021 season. It got accounted for at the end and will now be rolled over into 2022 or 2021, excuse me. So that's what we're going to see again this offseason, where every incentive is probably going to be not likely to be earned. The guy can still earn the cash the same way, can still get paid out, but from a cap perspective, it won't hit them until the following year.
One more question for you, Brad, and then we'll let you go. I would love to get a breakdown on compensatory picks, because you talk about the Detroit Lions with Kenny Golladay trying to get a 3rd-round pick. Not only do they have to let him walk to have that compensatory pick, but you also speak to they can't spend a lot in free agency. So how does that counterbalance each other, and how do compensatory picks actually work out? What is the formula?
Yeah, so at a very high level, the way the formula starts is it's just unrestricted free agents lost versus unrestricted free agents gained. So how many guys did you that left your team as free agents, and where did they sign elsewhere? And how many guys did you sign? So not guys that got cut, not trades, just unrestricted free agents. And so hypothetically, Golladay will sign a contract that will be valued at a 3rd rounder. So they're 3rd through 7 rounds based on the size of the deal. So we're saying 3rd rounder for Golladay because I think he's going to sign $19-20 million per year deal. That's going to be near the top of the market, among all positions. And so it'll be a value of a 3rd round comp pick. But let's say the Lions went out and signed an unrestricted free agent for $10 million a year, doesn't matter. And it was a 5th round comp pick. Those two would still cancel each other out. They would be net even. They'd have 1 gained, 1 lost, and those 2 players would cancel each other out. So you have to be very cognizant of that going into it. The Patriots have been gaming this system forever. A couple other teams are kind of, in the mix there as well. The Cowboys like to take advantage of it. The Packers love to take advantage of it. But yeah, there's way more to it than that. But at the highest level, very simply, it's just what'd you add, what'd you lose, and the net determines what you're going to gain. I got to do a quick shout out. Nick Corte at overthecap.com is the guru. If you want to know all the nitty gritty and all the details, follow him on Twitter at Nick Corte, and he's going to be going nuts with these comp pick things. He's the expert there.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show. I think this is massive as we kind of approach free agency because it's definitely very complex. Some people think they know more than they do. Just look at like average dollars per year and feel really good about a contract, but guarantees matter. Incentives matter. What do they get in return? Compensatory picks, all that stuff. Brad, always a pleasure when our paths cross. Thanks again. Now joining the 2-for-1 Drafts podcast is former Minnesota wide receiver Rashod Bateman, a guy that I think we have to start with this, Rashod. A lot of people bring you up on Twitter. A lot of people talk about your game and compare you to a whole host of receivers, man. I've seen people say you got Michael Thomas to your game, Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen, and I'm sure you're on the internet as well seeing all these different things. Do you feel like any of those guys even give you justice, or are you just wild? Are you amazed by the amount of people, receivers they're comparing you to right now?
Yeah, man, just to be compared to those receivers is definitely a blessing. I look up to all those guys a lot. I try to implement a lot of what they do into my game. So it's definitely a blessing to be in that conversation.
I'd love to talk more, too, about kind of the transition from 2019 to 2020. Because, when you were working with Tyler Johnson, you played a lot on the outside. And then you saw beginning of the 2020 season, played a little bit more reps in the slot and then kind of transitioned more to the outside. Talk to me about the differences between playing on the outside versus playing in the slot at Minnesota and kind of what you've learned with the experience you had playing at those positions, this past year and years prior.
Going to the slot was definitely different for me. I didn't play there much. I played there a little bit in 2019. But I think I was prepared for it well, especially just watching Tyler play that position for a while, watching him succeed. He gave me a lot of tips. I learned a lot from him. So just going into that role, it was cool. I was excited for it, but it was different because I am primarily on the outside. But I enjoyed it, but thanks to Tyler, he helped me out a lot in that area.
You brought him up. I mean, he was one of my favorite wide receivers in the 2020 draft class. And I talked to him multiple times, talked about the combine. He was on this podcast as well. Highest graded receiver in college football in 2019. Absolutely absurd. He falls to the 5th round. And I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with Chris Godwin potentially leaving for agency, Gronkowski, they're sitting on a gold mine in Tyler Johnson. Talk to me about what the Bucs are getting in Tyler Johnson.
With Tyler, you're getting a complete receiver. A lot of people questioning his speed, but Tyler's a complete receiver. His football IQ is high. He know how to run routes. He can catch the ball. He went 5th round, but they got a steal. He was overlooked. He was overshadowed, in my opinion. But I think he's just gonna continue to prove people wrong, just like he always do.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think you've even had doubts about your speed. You've received some flack from different analysts about your top speed and those things. And then you go, I think it was at, Exos Pro Day, one of those things, clock a 4.39 on the laser, prove those guys that you can be explosive, can come out of come out of the 40 with a low time. How good did that feel? And what went into that process to train to get to that time?
It was, I feel good about it now, looking back on it. A lot of guys was questioning my speed, but at the same time, I knew I was fast. My coach at Minnesota knew I was fast. The players I played with, they knew I was fast. So, I went to Exos and shout out to my trainer, Nick. He did a good job of getting all of us prepared for the 40. And, we just went to work every day, eventually paid off.
That's awesome, man. And so if I could add to that too, what weight did you play the season at this past year? And then what weight are you working to this offseason?
This past year, I played at 190. The previous year, I played at 198, 2019. But when I got COVID, I lost a lot of weight, so it was hard for me to get back up. But now I must try to stay in the 195, 198 range because that's what I was comfortable with playing at 2019. I'm gonna work on getting back in that area so I can feel comfortable playing. And
when you clocked that 4.39, were you around that 195 range?
No, I was still low. I was like 192, 191.
Gotcha. Makes sense. That definitely, corresponds well. I didn't know you had COVID. Talk to me about that experience. That had to have been awful. My podcast co-host had COVID and said it was really tough, for the multiple weeks. How was that and how was overcoming that?
It was definitely tough. That was definitely like the main reason why I opted out. People wondering why I opted out, but like I had COVID in June. I opted out after that because I have asthma. So I was down for like a week and a half. I had every symptom you could think of. With there not being any answers of playing football or what COVID can do. I opted out. And then the Big Ten was like, are we going to play? And then they put in safety protocols, which is like getting tested daily. Make sure everybody's on the right track. So I opted in. And then we had a COVID spike at Minnesota, which caused us to cancel games. We was losing players left and right. I knew I was coming out probably. So I just didn't want to risk in COVID again while I was going to prepare for the draft,
Holy shit, man. I didn't know that. That's crazy to overcome that, lose that weight. And then, I mean, you were smart to make that decision, honestly, to opt out of the season. No one knows what the long-term effects of COVID-19 are. Honestly, man, I didn't know that. That is wild.
I still feel like nobody knows the answer to
that. And you have asthma. I mean, holy fuck, dude, that's crazy. That's very interesting. Well, let's get off the COVID-19 stuff and talk more about your game. So regardless of whether it should be a weakness or not, the first thing that people bring up with you isn't your speed, it's your release package. It's how you get off the line of scrimmage. It's how you create separation early in the route. And I think that's where the Keenan Allen comparisons come out. That's where like the Allen Robinson comparison can come out. How often are you working on your release package, and what exactly do you have to do to get to the level that you're at? Because I think it's film study. It's weight room. It's working your feet and those things, working off the field. But what exactly is your process to get better as a route runner, to get better as a releaser off the line of scrimmage?
I just think it's like you say, it just takes a lot of preparation. You can go put in the work and all that, but I also think that it just takes a lot of studying. I study a lot of those guys you just named. You throw Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs in there. I watch but I'm gonna keep doing the same thing to get better in that area. So.
Yeah, you cut out for a little bit there. I'm not sure what happened, but I got you back now. But I apologize for that. Looking at what you said about getting better as a releaser, getting better at the line of scrimmage, what goes even beyond that? Once you're off the line of scrimmage, getting in and out of your breaks and all of that stuff is also talked about at the receiver position. What exactly are you doing there to get better at the receiver position?
I just think it takes a lot of reps. You got to get the feel from of how you feel when you're going inside your break points and things like that. You just got to get enough reps at it that you're comfortable with it and that you can do it naturally. Everything comes with a consistency. You just got to work on just work on everything, just get as many reps as you can at it. So that's why I stay after practice. I go in extra days, work on those things. So it pays off.
There you go, man. There you have it. I'd love to hear more, too, about what that film work has looked like this offseason and how it's transitioned. Are you watching a ton of film on yourself? Are you watching film on those NFL guys that you spoke to? Are you still in it in terms of watching a ton of film?
Oh, yeah, every day. I go on YouTube in my living room. I watch Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, and Keenan Allen. I think those guys got the best release packages in the league right now. So, and I try to implement that. They're elite receivers in the NFL for a reason. And I'll be soon to be there. So I'm just learning day by day, and just try to put it in my game.
And I've talked to some receivers and even some pass rushers and offensive tackles that are looking at some of the opposing positions in the NFL, watching some corners in your space. Do you watch any cornerback film in the NFL film to kind of see what you're going to be going up against in the NFL?
Oh, for sure. I watch a lot of Jalen Ramsey for sure. I watch a lot of him just because I feel like he's the best corner all around. He's physical. He got good feet. He can do everything that every corner in the league can do at the best ability. So I study a lot of Jalen Ramsey. Guys that are successful against him must be really good receivers or good at their release package. Good at to just route details. So I do watch a lot of DBs too. Just to learn the tendencies and what could help me at the next level.
So, we spoke to your release package. I think your ball skills are fantastic. You obviously have the speed. You proved that. You're one of the few receiver prospects that here at PFF that we use the word complete with. You have the big names, the guys from Alabama, Waddle, Smith, and also Jamar Chase, who are talented in their own right, but you don't see the completeness that you see with yourself. Do you feel like your complete receiving ability is what kind of separates you in this class, or what do you feel like you scout yourself, man? What do you feel like your strength is? What's your key separator in this class for you?
You just said it yourself, looking at myself, looking at my game, I do think I'm a complete receiver. I am fast. I can run routes, and I can catch the ball pretty well. I just got to continue to work on those things to separate myself, But at the same time, I'm going to stay in my lane, work on what I need to work on, and just be the best me that I can be.
And what are some areas do you feel like you want to prioritize improving before getting in the NFL? After watching guys like Jalen Ramsey, Stephon Diggs, Devontae, I'm seeing how, the pros do it. Are there areas of their game that you see man, that's where I need to get better. That's where I need to improve? I
just think from my perspective, I just need to get better at blocking. And that comes with getting stronger in the weight room. I take the weight room very seriously in the off season and in season, because I think that's how I can elevate my game is just get stronger, playing more physical. In NFL, you're going to run the ball, so you got to be prepared to block anybody, whether it's safety, linebackers, or corners. So I just think, hitting the weight room hard, staying consistent with that can definitely elevate my game as well.
Let's finish with this, Rashod. I really appreciate the time. Yeah. I love asking prospects about, their why, their motivation to play the game, the motivation to make the sacrifices you have to make to pursue the NFL. You have to do so much at the high school level, the collegiate level to get to this point. What is your motivation to pursue such, a career in football?
I would definitely say my mom, just growing up the way I did, seeing what she went through, just watching her continue to fight no matter what. For NFL has always been my dream. So just getting there would be a goal of mine to make her proud, because it just proved that, that I learned from her not to give up, to just keep pushing. That's what I've done all my life. That's what my mom done all her life. So just watching her do that, it carried over to me and my brothers. So just making it there, I know she'd be proud of me for that. So.
Fantastic stuff, Rashod. Really appreciate the time, like I said, and best of luck moving forward.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Now joining the 2-for-1 Drafts podcast is former Ohio State defensive tackle Tommy Togiai. Tommy, it's great to have you on. You're hanging out in Exos, in Phoenix, with a lot of other guys that have actually been on this podcast. Rashad Weaver, Marlon Tuipulotu, Kwity Paye is a friend of the podcast. Really, really hanging out. You're becoming part of the family, Tommy.
Yeah, no, all those guys are great dudes, and, they love to work hard just like I do. So, the training's been going well. We push each other. It's been going well.
So before we get into kind of your career at Ohio State and what you're doing now at Exos, I want to talk more about kind of your recruiting background. Coming out of Idaho's Highland High School in 2018, 15 scholarship offers as a consensus 4-star recruit. There was some chance for you to stay close to the West Coast, Utah, Washington, some offers from them, but you ultimately made the decision to go to Ohio State. What went into that decision, and talk more about what your recruiting process was like?
Yeah, recruiting was crazy, man, during that time, just being in high school, and then especially a small town in Idaho, just being from there, getting all these college offers and stuff like that. But, recruiting was cool and all, but, ultimately why I chose Ohio State was mainly because of Coach Larry Johnson, just what he's done with players and how he gets into the league and what he's done. So, and then not even that, just the man he is too. So we really created a close relationship, and, it's a testament to him. Where I am today, I owe it all to him, and I appreciate him so much.
I'll tell you right now, Tommy, I have talked to a lot of guys that have worked with Larry Johnson. There isn't a single one that does not bring him up and talk highly of him. And I'm not surprised that you're one of the same, man. That guy has done a lot of good work with a lot of different players entering the league. Something else I wanted to mention too was, did you play, like you said, small city in Idaho, small town in Idaho. Did you play both sides of the ball? Did you have opportunities to get a little offense in, Tommy?
Maybe a little bit when I was like freshman, sophomore year, but then after that, I just strictly started straight to D-line, all defensive line.
So, pivoting to your career at Ohio State, you didn't play a very high volume of snaps in any single season. Look at the past 3 years, under 300 total snaps over the past 3 years in each of those seasons. Obviously playing behind a lot of really, really good talent, being a rotational piece along a very talented, deep defensive line. Was that in any way frustrating for you, not seeing the field, 400, 500 snaps a season, or did it allow you to kind of keep fresh legs and really put your best work out there?
Yeah, so a little bit of both. At first I was a little frustrated, but just learning from the guys ahead of you kind of just helps you out a lot. And then also, yeah, like you said, fresh, my body's feeling good right now, and that's because maybe I didn't get all those plays that maybe my body could have been more hurt from that and all that. And Coach Johnson always likes to do a lot of rotation with his group. And I always love that just because, guys always come out, they do well in the league because I think they have fresh bodies.
How frustrating, speaking more to frustration, was this past season? Obviously the COVID-19 impacts on the season. You weren't able to play, I think, down the stretch. I'm sure it just was not easy to kind of see, the success of Ohio State, specifically against Alabama, and not being able to show up in that game. Was this how different was this season compared to others?
It's probably going to go down. Maybe it's one of the hardest seasons people are going to, it's going to be continued to talk about even maybe 20 years down the road. Everyone's going to remember this year. And just it's just a crazy how we went to playing, not playing, and then back to playing. So, I think as a whole group, as college football players, a lot of guys came together just to stand up and play. So I think it was really great to see that as well, kind of see college players unite together too.
I want to talk about some of the teammates you've had at Ohio State. Obviously, a really deep defensive line. You've played, with a lot of talented players there. But I want to look on the other side. Wyatt Davis is one name that comes to mind. I'm sure you had some battles there against him. But a lot of other really good interior offensive linemen came out of Ohio State in your tenure there. Talk to me about some of the battles you had with some of the talented Buckeyes on the interior offensive line in practice over the years.
Yeah, I know my freshman year, Michael Jordan is currently on the Bengals. I mean, yeah, we had battles too. Just going against him my freshman year kind of, let me know, like, oh, this is how it's going to be kind of deal. And then going with Wyatt too, Josh Myers this past season. I mean, going against them every day of practice really was just iron sharpening iron. I mean, the best against the best. I mean, those guys really got me to where I am. And I think they would say the same for me going against them in practice. So, I mean, it's really great.
And I'm sure those guys are near the top, if not at the top of your list in terms of some of the best offensive linemen you've gone against. But even looking back on your career against other teams in the Big Ten, who do you feel like are some of the best, competition you faced?
Oh, yeah, through my time at Ohio State, I think Wisconsin was one, definitely, and then also Northwestern in the Big Ten too. And then also, I mean, Clemson this year and then even last year too, I thought was pretty good.
And so something that PFF kind of sees with your game as a strength or kind of a key separator for you is that bull rush you bring to the table. And I think that adding that as a pass rusher is very important. I think your run defense kind of speaks for itself, and how you've played against the run, even on limited snaps, has been really impressive and kind of speaks to your frame and your overall skill set. But to be good in the NFL at defensive tackle, to be great, you have to be able to add as a pass rusher, and you kind of see that with your bull rush. But that's like, the third party scouting you. That's like PFF scouting you. What do you feel like is a key separator for you in this class? What do you feel like is that strength that sets you apart?
I mean, I think my effort too was another thing, but then also just my ability. I mean, I've been working on my pass rush ability even now, and then even this past season. I think you saw it kind of jump off. I mean, kind of helped me out this past season, but also, I mean, like I said, my effort, I'm always going to be going hard to the ball, like trying to get to make plays like that and always giving that 110% effort every play.
Yeah, I think effort, honestly, I've talked to guys at PFF about this. I think effort sometimes can get underrated when you're looking at interior, defensive linemen specifically, because so many sacks, pressures, chaos from the pocket can come from that extra motor. That was a weird accent. Extra motor you have along the defensive line to kind of pursue that. Would like to talk a little bit more about, now what you're doing at Exos and kind of how you're training for the combine, what drills you're prioritizing. Are there any drills that you have kind of circled on your goals of ones you really want to hit and so forth?
Yeah, so I mean, kind of a little bit of, the 40 and obviously the bench and the 3-cone, kind of mostly, all the field ones I kind of want to, challenge myself and do really good in. And then also, it's the bench also. And then also in the position drills, been really working hard on just position work, pass rushing stuff, and then also run stuff, but just getting right with that.
And what weight did you play at this past season? And then what weight are you working to be at now? I know a lot of times you'll receive feedback from teams, or players will receive feedback from teams to drop 20 pounds, gain 20 pounds. Are you working towards a certain weight? And what weight did you play at the previous season? Yeah,
so last season I played around 295 to 300. And then I'm probably just going to stick around either in between 290 and 300. So I'm currently weighing about 295. So I'm probably just going to stick around there. And teams, have asked me about my weight and where I where I feel comfortable in. I told them I feel comfortable in the range between 290 and 300. I can be in that range.
Awesome, man. Going back to kind of your career at Ohio State and speaking specifically to preparation, I'd love to hear more about, in a given game week, kind of what you look at on film against opposing offensive linemen or opposing offenses to prepare for a certain opponent.
Yeah, so, it's we come in right in after the game on Saturday and Sunday. We kind of get that. It's a fresh kind of get that game plan a little bit, kind of just watch some film on our next week's opponent. So basically just kind of getting keys of their top run plays basically. So our first breakup is this run plays basically 11, 10 personnel, 12 personnel, trying to get all those run formations that they run their top plays in out of runs. And then going in next to the week, Tuesday, that's when we really get into our game plan from our coaches and stuff like that of how we're going to attack them. Be first, second down, usually on our Tuesday, kind of Wednesday. And then, towards the end of the week, we'll kind of get into more third down pressure stuff, more blitzes and stuff like that. But then watching film for me, I really got into more watching film my sophomore and then even this past season, just watching more on my own, just kind of getting keys on where the slides are going, where the protections are going. And then also just noticing like tendencies that O-linemen have, how they're setting in their pass sets, how they come off in their run blocks and stuff like that.
And how much has that film preparation really changed in the offseason? You know, kind of what are you looking at now? Are you watching a ton of film on yourself? You turning on film of some of the NFL guys? What film preparation are you doing now?
Yeah, so I've been watching, of course, my film from this past season and then even years before. And then also just watching, a lot of NFL guys tape, like a lot of cut-ups of just a lot of NFL guys.
What NFL guys, if you had to pick some that you feel like are similar frames, do similar things as you, who are guys that you kind of emulate or want to work your game after?
I always admire guys like Fletcher Cox, Aaron Donald, Chris Jones. Those are the elite guys that you kind of always look up to, that's where you want to be at, like that's where you want to get to. So I kind of like look at what those guys are doing, like how they rush, how they play the run and stuff like that, how they even in their stances and what they're kind of like looking for and stuff like that.
And we can close with this, Tommy. I really appreciate the time. I love asking prospects this one. You know, what is your motivation to kind of pursue a career in the NFL? Because there's so much sacrifice that goes into playing football, playing this game at a high level, and doing all that you've done to even get to this point, and then to continue to have your football career in the NFL. What is your motivation? What is your why kind of behind this game?
I think my why, I love the game of football. At a young age, I just love it, and I love to compete. The competitiveness I have, that kind of just drives me to be great. And then I also just do it for myself and my family. They've been with me all my life and have just been behind me and supported me. So they're another one of my whys. But also it just comes down to I just love the game of football. I love to compete.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate the time and best of luck moving forward.
Thank you. Appreciate it.